Hey everybody, welcome to episode 32 of Two Guys, Zero Planners, brought to you by the fine folks over at Penn Chalet. If you want fast, free shipping on orders over $50 in the US, head on over to PennChalet.com. And while you're there, click on that radio podcast link at the top of the page and enter the code 2GUYS, that's the number 2, guys, all one word. And on top of the free shipping, you'll get 10% off site-wide. I don't know about you, but for me, that makes it even more worth it. So head on over to PennChalet.com and show your support for Two Guys, Zero Planners by using the code 2GUYS to unlock your site-wide discount. So, Arpin, how's it going, man?
Doing good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. I got a message from you the other day that we got mentioned once again on the 1857 podcast.
Yes, we did. Thank you, Stuart. And thanks for still listening to us talking about pens.
Yes, thank you, Stuart. One of these days, I will reciprocate and listen to 1857 for more than just the episodes you mention us on. Yes, I apologize for my lack of podcast sharing. Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah. Speaking of things getting a mention, though, looks like you've got some new stuff going on over at FPC.
Yes, so there's this part of the page where you can list your inks and add, remove, and do whatever with them. Unfortunately, for certain people with larger collections like Jesse or Mike, it's gotten a bit slower, sometimes even depending on browser or whatever you're using, too slow to actually really use it. Well, for now, I've just built a separate page that is not as fancy as the existing one, but at least it works. Eventually, I will hopefully find the time to, make it nicer, and it will replace the existing one and hopefully be also more mobile friendly, because the current version, I'm actually surprised that people are using it on a phone also, because that's pretty difficult to use.
I've tried once or twice on a phone, and I can definitely agree. It can be a little clunky sometimes on the phone.
Yeah, and that's a nice way of saying it.
That was actually me trying to be mean. I don't know who you're trying to kid saying that was nice. So, do you think you're going to be able to get a quick implementation, or is this something that may take a while?
Yeah, it's probably going to take a while, because in the end it would have to be a sort of two designs in one, right? One is if you're on a desktop, you would still have a table that you would work with, because that's sort of saves space. And on mobile devices, it would probably look a bit like the currently inked section now, where it would look more like those ink swabs. And then I would need to figure out how to do search and sorting and all that stuff on the mobile side. And it'll take a while to get it right, I think.
The only part that I really kind of wish would be a little bit more, automated, would be like when you're typing in an ink that's a known ink, like Edelstein Topaz. Yeah, Edelstein Topaz. That it would actually just automatically fill in the swab color?
It does, but only after you've saved it. But yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that could be changed around.
Yeah. That's really the only thing so far. I've decided to go ahead and table my avatar push for a later date.
It's on the list somewhere.
Yes. It's okay if it gets buried. Let's get the beta stuff going full force. I'm sitting here saying this stuff like I actually help out with the website, which I absolutely do not.
Well, you keep this podcast running, right? It's already enough work.
Yes, we'll go with that. Speaking of other changes, though, you also got a P.O. box?
I did. Or let's say we did, me and my wife. So she wanted some place The rules in Germany are if you have a website, you actually need to list an address on it for people to contact you. Not sure how useful it is for yeah. I mean, if it's useful or not is a different discussion to have a postal address on a website. But yeah, as she's writing under a how do you call it in English?
A pen name, a pseudonym.
Pen name, nom de plume.
Yes.
Yeah, she didn't really want to then give out her real address on that page, so we decided to get a PO box for it, because you can basically make up any name for it, or as many as you want. And then I decided to also put my the FPC stuff and everything on that PO box. Unfortunately, I hadn't realized that this is how it works in Germany. Then every letter that would go to us then ends up in that PO box, not only letters addressed to the PO box. So that's sort of a bit annoying, because the PO box is in the next town. So now we only get mail once a week when I have the time to go there.
It works a little differently over here. We get to pick and choose what goes where, or if we forget that something is supposed to go to an address, like in my case where I've moved 4 times in the last 5 years. There's been a few times where I've forgotten to update my address. Yeah, not getting notifications for things for 7 months is a good way to forget that you actually have something.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are
yeah.
times that I wish we had the system that you do, and then I hear what you go through with it, and it's like, no. I'm glad that our postal service is a little bit lazier on that side of things.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning I didn't know it, and I think in the beginning I didn't go for 2 weeks or so, and I wondered, where's that Opus 88 pen, right? And turns out it was in the PO box. Anyway, I will write the address down and we can put it in the show notes. So if people really want, they can write me letters or send me examples or stuff.
Or send you other things.
Yeah, I don't know.
That they feel guilty about not sending yet.
Yeah. Well, is there something? I've forgotten. It's been so long.
Yeah. So, yes, about things that aren't letter related or package related.
Mm-hmm.
There's been quite a bit of new stuff coming down the pipe, and quite a bit of old new stuff since we're recording this like 3 or 4 weeks after a few of these were announced. But you and I hardly ever talk about our thoughts on relatively new stuff that's coming out. And there's a couple that have come through recently that I actually wanted to get your thoughts on, because we really don't talk about our individual tastes that much. We just kind of wing it. So I figured we'd, go through these couple and see what we both think about them.
So let's start with the Esterbrook Camden, right?
Yes, the Esterbrook Camden. I see an Apple vibe going on here.
Yeah, plus, I mean, anytime I think about brushed and this general form, I think about the Lamy 2000, actually. Somehow.
See, when I see like the brushed metal, I immediately think Keras Customs.
Yeah, I must. Let me find the link. I'm actually somehow, I don't know. My first thought was, wow, that looks like one of those Chinese copies of a Lamy 2000. It's not really true, but that was my first thought.
I love how TeamSpeak is telling me to don't click the link. It is going to kill you. I'm going to open that link. Wow. Okay, let me flip back and forth between these two.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that close.
No, it's not that close, but I get where you're coming from here. Which Esterbrook pen was it? It was the
Phaeton?
Yeah, the Phaeton 300R. where that one person in the comments made a good point that a lot of the India school pens have that look to them and have the exact same internals.
Yes.
And then you're sitting there going, how do you justify the markup for the Esterbrook version when, well, like you're showing me here, I can get a fairly decent looking clone, not an exact clone, but at least a decent looking clone for a fifth the price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, in this sort of, do we even know? Yeah. I mean, that at that price. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure at some point I will get one of the STs because that's a really nice design.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, not really. I don't think so.
I mean, okay, I'll give the Camden a couple things here. I like Schmidt nibs, and the colors they chose, because I'm an Apple fanboy for some extent, I like the color scheme.
So the Lamy LX scheme, basically.
Yes. Yes, I will admit that right now.
But yeah, I mean, it sort of says 3/4 turn cap deployment. That sounds nice.
That does. I mean, anything that takes more than 2 turns to uncap is a little overkill in my book. And maybe that's just me being lazy.
Yeah, I mean, that the Opus 88 pens, that's sort of the one downside to them.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about picking up one of the, oh my goodness, which Opus 88 is that? Pulling up the link.
Omar, which is sort of
the
a
Bella.
bit rounded. The Bella, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about, yeah, that's sort of, me too.
You know, let's go ahead and talk about this one since we're here. I really like the red. Like the blue, I could pass that up all day long. But that red on the Opus 88 Bella looks stunning.
Yeah, I like the blue. It has a certain, yeah. I mean, the shape is sort of, I don't know, a bit weird. You have to get used to it, I think. It's sort of, they are moving more and more into that direction, it seems like. On the one side of the spectrum, you have the Coloro demo, which is sort of really blocky.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, you have the Bella, and somewhere in between you have the Omar, I would say, right?
No, you're right. That is kind of a good dichotomy. I don't know. Why blue?
Because it looks better than the red. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to go to the picture where they've got them side by side really quick. See, my whole thing is the cap on the blue looks really nice. But at least on the press photo blue one, that body just looks empty, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing. I like how the red just continues that pattern all the way through it. And I feel like you're kind of losing that on the blue.
Yeah, I don't know. It sort of, the question is anyway, how different each pen is going to be, right? With such a material.
That is true. Especially once you start getting in the swirly acrylics like that, there's going to be variance no matter what you do. So another new one here, well, new-ish, the M200 gold marbled.
Another M200 that's sort of marbled, right? I never really liked those.
You don't like the marbled look?
No, not at all.
Wow. See, the marbled ones are actually the ones that draw my eye to them.
Yeah, I don't know. They're sort of, they don't work for me. Even those striped ones are borderline, I'd say. They are sort of already okay, but not the nicest looking pens, I'd say. But those marbled ones, no.
Very interesting. So, which Pelican, like, Of all the designs that Pelican has done, which one do you like?
Well, a demo is always working for me, basically. If it's a real, completely transparent one or one of those translucent ones. Yeah, or one of the really funky materials like the orange ones. Yeah, I mean, if striped, then maybe those whitish M600s. They look fun. But those standard blue or green or whatever, they're a bit, they don't really work for me. They're okay, but probably not a pen I would buy.
I could agree with you there. The standard colors, for me, not so much as well. I like the marbled looks. I really do. Well, the non-standard marble looks, so this one is okay. But like the marbled green, the marbled blue, I really don't like those.
Oh yeah, and the tortoise shell, those look cool. At least the light ones.
Now, do you like the pattern that you get on like the M101N?
Not so much, no.
Interesting. Very, very intriguing. Is it just like too plain or something, or what's the situation there?
Maybe it would work if the colors were a bit brighter, and I don't know, maybe it's also just because the pattern is so, I don't know, because these swirls aren't that, there isn't that much going on, I would say.
They're not as pronounced?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were going to have something swirly, you'd prefer to have like the 805 Blue Dunes?
No, that has the vibe of cheap Chinese pen for me, somehow. Right? Sort of what of those, I mean, these, I prefer, right? This has this big, a lot of blue and then those tiny black swirls in it. I prefer if it's more even, right?
Okay.
I'd go with a Brooks material or something.
Okay, I'm learning a lot about you now. So we're going to go ahead and take it from normal and boring to 1, we can't afford it, and 2, what on earth?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around these 3 pens.
Maybe we should actually say what pens we're talking about.
The Peniter Armon limited edition set.
Mm-hmm.
So the top one, the Doppler Titanium, you only get if you drop $4,000 on the whole set.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know. I mean, of those 3 there, if you had to rate them in the order of if you had the money, you would buy them, which one's your favorite, which one's your least favorite, and why?
So my least favorite would be the top one, the Doppler Titanium, because it's number one, it's sort of grayish. Depends on which picture you look at. Yeah, and this gray plus rose gold combination doesn't really work for me. Number 2 would be the night and day, because that look of, I don't know, rainbow. Yeah, it's a bit better than this grayish, but not that much my style. And the other one, yeah, that's a, I don't know, what would you call it? Copper color plus black. Yeah, that's nice. I could see myself using that one.
I agree with you for the number 1. The trilogy is definitely, at least to me, the better looking of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I would switch it up. The night and day one would be at the bottom for me. I don't know, just something about that colorway reminds me of some of the cheap paint jobs that you used to see on PV guitars back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And those guitars always played horribly, so I guess I'm biased against that paint job. And I think that the gray with the rose gold actually just has a better look.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd feel a little bit more comfortable carrying that around with me. But all in all, I mean, I know we just kind of ranked them, but that was like picking the best ugly pen out of a batch of ugly pens.
Yeah, that is true. And the fact that they're so expensive doesn't really help, right?
Exactly. I mean, $4,000. Just think about all the other fountain pens that, at least to me, look so much better.
Yeah, you could get a room full of ink for that money.
You could reach out to Opus 88 or Pen BBS or any company and go, hey, I've got $4,000. You want to make me a really cool pen? And they would probably do a better job than this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Every time Peniter comes out with something, it's like a 50-50 shot on whether or not it's actually going to be decent.
Yeah, you can sort of see the Visconti heritage, right?
I mean, hopefully the nibs are better, but yeah, you can see the heritage there. Let's bring it back to something sane, though. This Pro Gear, man. This Pro Gear.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a Pro Gear, so that's always a plus.
It is a Pro Gear, yes.
Yeah.
And it also has a clear finial.
So that's the next one with the clear finials, I guess. No, it's a cocktail series. Okay.
It is a cocktail series. I will say, it doesn't remind me of the drink.
What kind of drink is that anyway?
The Angel's Delight drink. It's, let me see if I can get a picture. Your Google Foo will probably be quicker than mine.
I only see desserts here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a better picture of the cocktail. Here we go. That one's actually got a... Actually, I think this guy even goes into how to make it.
Booze and Blues. Wow, that name.
Mm-hmm.
Grenadine triple sec. Creme yet. Ooh, yeah, that...
Yeah. I mean, I'm cool with the grenadine and triple sec, but...
Yeah, cocktails with cream. No.
Yeah. Yeah, cocktails with cream, I don't know. It just doesn't... It's never seemed appetizing to me, I guess.
No. But yeah, the pen, I like the look of it. Not sure about the price of actual Pro Gears or 1911 larges, but yeah, that's a different topic, I guess.
It's actually kind of interesting. Does this one even come in a slim? I don't think it does.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so this one's just a regular Pro Gear.
I mean, someday I will probably get a regular Pro Gear or maybe a slim. I don't know. Sort of keep my 1911 large company, but...
Well, one of these days I'll get a Sailor that I like the color of because it's the right color, and a Sailor that I don't drop down a 40-foot cliff. I still can't believe I did that.
You really?
Yeah, we talked about this.
I must have forgotten.
Well, it was almost a year ago when I was on vacation and I went hiking with the Pro Gear Rialo, and it slipped out of my pocket and went down the cliff face.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I don't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with that. I mean, first and foremost, why was I hiking near cliffs with a Pro Gear Rialo?
That is true, of course, yeah.
Yeah, if you ever want your fountain pens to be safe, putting them near me is probably not the way to do it.
So, you should have gotten a Twisby Go, just like me, right? No, it has this hole on the cap where you could actually sort of secure it to your pocket or something. And B, if it then actually fell down, it wouldn't be so bad.
How are you liking the TWSBI Go?
I mean, it's a fairly weird-looking pen, certainly. But it's really comfortable to write with, I'd say. Yeah. Has a broad nib mine, which is also nice, and yeah, I like it.
It's been on my radar to pick one up for a while, just to like have one for the sake of a quick and dirty ink testing pen. But every time I think about buying it, I immediately forget and purchase something else. Which, I don't know. You would think that I would be able to remember that stuff better.
Yeah, maybe they come up with another fun color at some point. They probably do their TWSBI, right? That's what they do.
That is very true. How much ink can one of those things actually hold?
I haven't measured it, but it's probably quite a lot because the barrel is pretty wide. I don't know. Certainly much more than a converter. I don't know. Maybe it's even 2. Maybe not quite 2 milliliters of ink, but yeah.
Okay, that could put a pretty big dent in some of my bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, you're evil.
I am. Well, you're
Yes.
evil. I now had to dig out all my Pelican 4001 bottles.
Oh, I'm evil for making you dig out the Pelican 4001s?
Yeah, I made you buy them, right? I already had them all.
Yeah, so I've got 4001 Royal Blue, Violet, Green, and Turquoise.
Mm-hmm.
And then Edelstein Topaz. Yeah, that's a lot of Pelican.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, let's see, let me pull up the numbers for those 2 videos. Which, yeah, I'm coming to the conclusion that people like my ink videos a lot better than my pen videos.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not a good thing because I'm recording a pen video tomorrow, which by the time this podcast goes live, the pen video will have been released to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my ink videos do much better.
Maybe because they're shorter?
No, they're about the same length.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, my Topaz video was 2 seconds longer than my Atelier Lusso video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, surprisingly enough. But yeah, like the Waterman Serenity Blue is already 5 times higher than the Atelier Lusso and 4 times higher than the Sailor Pro Gear Slim Graphite Lighthouse. Oh my god, that's a long name.
Interesting. Yeah.
So when my Tender Purple video goes live tomorrow, it'll probably do pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Maybe there's less people actually reviewing inks out there. I don't know.
Well, maybe. The other thing is I'm going back and doing a lot of the pocketbook-friendly inks. So, like, all the new inks that are getting all the love, I'm not doing those because you've got people like Fig Boot and people like Ink Dependence that are already doing that. So I'll let them go ahead and review the new stuff, and I'll take a look back on the inks that we kind of pass up.
Yeah,
they need some love too.
Yeah, I'm rediscovering all those inks at this point as well.
Well, and the other thing I'm trying to do, I'm trying to use them as kind of a way to discover different inks myself, because I kind of got trapped into that mindset of I have to have the newest, I have to have the eye candy that everyone's going for. And that kind of kept me from getting a good footing in what already existed as far as inks went.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good inks out there already that are not getting the love anymore because they've been out for years, basically, right?
Exactly. Like, I'm going to be doing a review of the Parker Quink, the blue-black ink of theirs.
Oh, that's a nice one as well, yeah.
Actually, I just had an ink order come in, so I picked up the Parker ink, Monteverde Copper Noir, The Pelican Green. What other inks were there? Oh, I did pick up one Colorverse. I did pick up Colorverse Walk the Dog.
Of course.
I shouldn't have said that word too loud. Now my dogs are looking at me. Yeah, if I say the W word, they immediately perk up. And then I went ahead and picked up another Krishna ink.
Yeah, I only have maybe one or two as a sample. At some point, I might get a full bottle of one of them. What was it? Goldfish Gold. Yeah, one nice orange ink.
The one I picked up was Yellow Valley.
Okay.
So the really deep black one with the yellow tint. Or at least that's kind of what I'm hoping it's going to be based off the swatches. If that's really how it comes out looking, I will be extremely happy with it.
Okay. Otherwise, you'll have to add a drop of black ink or so.
Which is kind of interesting. I don't have any black ink. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, black inks are pretty boring.
Well, it depends on the black ink.
Yeah, maybe it's also because I used Parker Black for like 15 years exclusively. And now I need color in my life.
Oh, you were actually talking about the color of the ink. I was talking about how much damage it would do to the pen if you left it in there.
What?
Sorry, I was thinking Noodlers.
Okay.
Yeah, we went in two completely different directions there. But yeah, so tomorrow is going to be the last pen review that I film for about 2 months. Yeah, because yeah, let's see. I'm filming the pilot review, but the Waterman review goes from being a patron-only video to being live on YouTube. And then the pilot one will be patron-only for a week. And then I'm going to go through the 5 inks that I just bought. So it's going to be a little bit before I actually pick up another pen and review one. So yeah, I'll be staying at 4 pens for a while.
Wow. And here I am, and I'm happy that I have only 10 pens inked.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I look at pens, man, it's just like, okay, I like what I'm seeing, but I want something to... I'm sick of picking up pens just for the sake of reviewing them. I actually want to pick up pens that I know are going to stay in the collection. So I'm being really picky, which I'm having to fight that internal struggle of I must have content to review and I must have something that I love.
Yeah.
So finding a good mix when it comes to a fountain pen is a little difficult sometimes when you're as picky as I am.
On the other hand, yeah, not buying stuff all the time is probably a good idea anyway.
Well, I mean, it allows me to buy other things.
Yeah.
To make the videos better.
Yeah, true.
Or toys for the dogs. Yeah, it's about that time of year. They need a whole bunch of new plushies. Boy, I'm going to be cleaning up stuffing around the house for a long time because of that. Yeah, those two are destructive, man. But, yeah. So, speaking of YouTube stuff, I'm actually thinking about starting another podcast.
Okay.
That's a patrons-only podcast. And I'm going to call it Transcoding Thoughts. So the whole concept here is when I do the filming and I put the video into the computer, I transcode it from a compressed MP4 file to an uncompressed file. And that transcoding takes about 2 hours. So I figured I could hook the microphone up to my other computer. And while my laptop is transcoding the film, I can go ahead and just have a podcast about, like, my thoughts about the channel or whatever my thoughts are at the time. It could either be a really good idea or a really horrible one.
Because clearly you have to sit there and watch the transcoding going on.
Well, taking the dogs for a walk around the apartment complex 4 times only takes 20 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And then by that time, we're all tired. Putting the filming equipment away only takes another 15 minutes. And then I've got enough time to vacuum and mop my entire apartment and still have about an hour left.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I go overkill. I transcode to like 16-bit uncompressed GoPro Cineform, which, yeah, it's complete overkill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like it could be something that, I don't know. I think it could potentially make a good patrons-only reward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, let's give it a try then.
Yeah, I mean, hey. I've also toyed around with the idea of, like, kind of tossing unedited versions of this show on there. But then I was like, no. People don't need to hear this show unedited. I say a lot of bad words.
Yes, you do? Really? Mm.
I do. Other people don't hear them, though, because I tend to cut them out. Or like when my voice cracks, or I have to say the same thing over again like 4 or 5 times. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's not so interesting to hear. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say one thing on BYOB. At least I got to sit back and let other people talk for 2 hours and occasionally just chime in with, I broke something.
And here you have to do all the talking, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do all the talking. I just find that because we're recording way late at night for me and I drink coffee right before we record, I hit that Balmer peak of overly talkative.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
and then you combine it with me just getting up.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty interesting to see what would happen if we completely flipped what time of day we were recording for each of us.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it would change much for me, because then I would not be tired because I just got up, but I would be tired because it's late.
Well, you also have a family, so I guess that could cause a little bit of extra tiredness that I have no clue how that would affect me.
Well, I mean, the kids are big enough now, so it's not that much of an issue anymore.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, small kids are just much more work and get up at night and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, good to know. Not that I'll ever have to put it in practice, but good to know.
Until puberty hits, and then it's a different kind of issues. But yeah.
You have fun with that, my friend.
I already have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, the hope is that it's over sooner than for other parents. Then maybe. Let's see.
So, we've got a couple listener questions.
Mm-hmm.
These are going to be interesting. The first one's from Opus 1971. Their question: I have an EF nib on my Pelican M200. It writes almost like a broad. How can I reduce the ink flow?
Well, number one, that sounds like a great nib to me.
Although my thoughts exactly.
Maybe not quite what you were looking for. So the issue with the Pelican nibs is, of course, that they are really, really tightly in their housing, and they're pretty hard to get out. Because otherwise I would have suggested to sort of remove the nib and try to get the tines to go closer together. But on a Pelican nib, I don't know, you would have to really use a hammer to get the nib out. And I'm not sure I would even suggest doing that.
That actually sounds like fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's a 3-part series video series by Matt Armstrong, where he talks about adjusting nibs. I guess that would be something to watch before you even try doing anything to your nibs. And then, I don't know, I mean, worst case, you would have to get a replacement nib.
Like, depending on where Opus lives, you're completely correct about that, because you could pick up a replacement Pelican nib for an M200 for like £10.
Oh,
I don't know what that is in freedom units.
Let's see. That cost here. Oh, well, I mean, 25 euros. That's less than I expected. Yeah. Maybe Interesting.
So what we found out here is Urban's now going to order a whole bunch of different sizes that he wants to order because they're cheap.
Yeah, I'll just quickly close that window.
So I guess really in Opus's situation, it really just depends on how much work you want to put into the nib. You can try to, like, if the tines are too wide or whatever the case may be, you can try to pull the nib and make the adjustments. Or you could just write it off as an EF that was tuned improperly, buy a brand new EF, and if it comes to you not writing the way it should, then at that point, at least you have a nib that's under a warranty that you can go ahead and have it taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be cheaper with less headache.
Yeah, that's true.
That being said, though, that kind of leads us into our next question, because Pelicans can sometimes create a horrible stationary experience.
Mm-hmm.
And Anna did ask. She actually asked 2 questions, but we saved this second one for the longest time for some unknown reason. And I can't remember what the first question was to save my life. But she asked, what is the worst experience that you've ever had with a fountain pen?
So I have this fountain pen Revolution. What's it called? Yvgenii Junior. And so it's a fairly nice ebonite pen. You can either use cartridges or a converter for it, or you can eyedropper it. And then at some point I actually tried to eyedropper it, and then the ink just basically started dripping out of the pen from the nib, which was kinda not the experience I was hoping for. It worked fine with the converter, because I guess it sort of reduced the flow somehow. But yeah, that wasn't quite what I expected.
So I'm going to have to classify 2 types of worst experiences.
Number one is dropping them off a cliff.
Yes, that is worst experience number 1. And that's for the experience type of accidents due to me. And that one was horrible because the pedigree of that pen, it used to belong to a writer that is very good at what she does. And that was one of the reasons I actually picked up that pen, because when it came available, I was like, well, I like the pedigree on it. It's a good nib, and it's a Rialo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my favorite sailor till I accidentally killed it.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as that goes, yeah, that's definitely right there for the worst. The other one really goes down to why I give Visconti such a hard time. So I had a Homo sapiens MIDI, and the original medium nib I could not get to write to save my life.
Okay.
It would hard start like no other. Then it had baby's bottoms like no other. This was during the time when, like, after an episode of BYOB, Ralph and I would stay on Discord, and I'd make modifications to the nib, take a picture, posted on Discord, and he'd tell me how to modify it. And we would keep doing that for like 2 or 3 hours after the show ended. And that went on for like 4 weeks.
Okay.
And I still could not get this nib to work. And it's a palladium nib, so good luck finding a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those situations where eventually it had an accident.
Yeah, I remember that part, yeah.
Yeah. The pen, it wasn't a accident with air quotes. It was a legitimate accident. It was sitting on my desk. It rolled. And it went nib first onto the metal feet of my desk and snapped the left tine completely clean off.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was able to find a replacement palladium nib secondhand from, I think it was Braden that had it. And that nib wrote beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
But that first nib, I could not get it to write to save my life. And that was, I've never had a pen annoy me as much as that Homo sapiens did.
Mm-hmm.
When I finally sold that pen, I was happy to see it go.
So bad.
Oh, yeah. I've never had a pen that I was happy to see go before like that one. And I will never forgive Visconti. I mean, I probably will at some point, but I'm going to say I never will. Because I've got a lot of other things I'd rather buy before then, and I don't want a Visconti just weaseling its way into my purchases until I truly feel like buying one.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, they're moving back to gold nibs, right? So let's see if that changes things.
Yeah, let's see if I also feel like spending $600 or $700 on, well, an overpriced pen.
I mean, the other idea would, of course, be to get a secondhand one from someone you know, and then it works, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm able to pick up a Visconti on sell trade, then I'd feel comfortable with that depending on who was selling it.
Yeah.
Because we've got some good nib workers on that Pen Addict Slack.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they say they're good at working on nibs or not, we've got some people that are just like, they're the Nib Whisperer. They touch a pen, they touch the nib, and it's beautiful right off the bat.
Yeah. Yep.
And I am the complete opposite of that. Well, not the complete opposite. I've gotten better. So maybe instead of 180 degrees opposite of it, maybe like 179. But yeah. So yeah, those were some interesting experiences. But speaking of questions and experiences, if you guys ever want to ask a question, post them over on the Discord, which will be linked down below, or the Instagram, once again, linked down below. Or if you're on the Slack for the Pen Addict, just drop me an Urban a line.
Mm-hmm.
We'll always note the questions, because we get some pretty interesting ones. And honestly, some of them are really thought-provoking and scary all at the same time. Other than that, though, thank you for listening to the show. If you like the show, drop us a like and a comment on your podcast player of choice. And do the whole Discord and Instagram thing we mentioned earlier. And if you know somebody that needs an extra pen podcast in their life, you know, maybe spreading the word. I'm not telling you what you have to do, but, you know, hey, thumbs up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Other than that, though, I'm going to drink some more coffee, which is probably not the thing to be doing at midnight. And I'm going to let Urban go do that family thing that he does.
Bye.